I'm Sunil Soni, and I'm going to show you the router configuration step by step in this video. So first of all, in this video there are several things that we will learn. The first is the router configuration mode, second, router configuration commands, the third one is how to configure the host name, setting the MOTD banner, setting the history size of a terminal, saving current configuration, setting the enable password, and setting the line password. So these are the basic configurations of any router. Here we will use the Cisco router, and I will show you that how we can perform all these tasks on the Cisco router. To configure a router, first we have to drag one router from the routers list. So here I choose 2901 router for our configuration. I drop it here. Okay, now next, to configure a router we need one computer to which we can connect the router, and from where we can get a router's CLI, means command line interface. So here I take one computer. Now what I want to do is I want to connect the router with this computer, and then I want to get its CLI mode. So to connect the computer with the router, I choose console mode. Now router and PC can be configured in three ways. The first way is we can use a console cable to connect that too, so it's a console mode. Second is a auxiliary cable or auxiliary mode, and the third way is a through telnet. But here in this example I will use console mode. So to connect the PC and router through the console mode, first I go to the connection. From connection I will choose the console cable, which is here. Then I will click on router and I will choose the console port on a router, and second click on PC and I will choose the RS-232 port from the PC. So if I click here, as you can see, now PC and router both are connected. Okay, if you are not seeing the console port in the router, it means on the actual hardware, then you can click on the router. It will show you the real router hardware from the front as well as from the back. So let's say zoom in, and as you can see here you will find the console port where you have to attach the console cable. So this is what the console port you can get. So you have to, in reality, you have to connect your computer with this console port through the console cable. Console cable is available in light blue color, so that you have to use. Okay, now next I want to see the CLI mode of a router. So I click on PC, I go to the desktop, I click on terminal, I keep all the settings as it is and click OK. And here, as you can see, now the CLI mode of a router is become visible on the terminal of a computer. Here you can get first the router's information. It's a Cisco 2901 router. This is the processor board information, then Ethernet interfaces and all. Now coming to the system configuration dialog, it asks initially that would you like to enter the initial configuration dialog. So let's say right now initially I do not want to make the configuration, right? I will apply my own command and I will configure. So here I give it's no and enter, and one more time enter, and as you can see now we got the router and greater than sign. It means that we reach to the first initial mode of a router configuration. There are three modes in which we can configure a router. The first is user execution mode, second is privileged execution mode, and the third is global configuration mode. So if you are at the user execution mode, then in prompt you are getting the greater than sign. If you are at the privileged execution mode, you will get the hash sign, and if you are at the global configuration mode, you are getting the config and hash sign. Okay, now user execution mode, if we talk about, it's very preliminary mode where you can see the information. So there are a lot of commands given in that particular mode, but mostly from all the commands you can see information. You cannot update the information, you cannot change the configuration of a router. So if you want to change the router's configuration, then you have to move towards the privileged execution mode. So in that way, the privileged execution mode is actually the advanced mode of compared to the user execution mode, because in privileged execution mode we can update the information. The finally is the global configuration mode. If we want some global configurations router wise, in that case we can use a configuration mode. in all the router, whenever you start the configuration, the user execution mode is always first. Okay, so it means that whenever you want to configure a router, so at that time from user execution mode, you need to switch to privilege execution mode and further to global configuration mode. Okay, so now let's start our router configuration from the first mode, which is user execution mode. So here we need to give some command. So let's say if you have started a router configuration, if you do not know any command, then we can use the question mark. Now as you can see, this question mark lists out all the commands which are available in this particular user execution mode. So from here you can give any command. Let's say I want to see the current version of the iOS Cisco in this router. So I will write down show version. Now when I give this command, it will show me the current Cisco iOS operating system installed in this router. You can also write down the show clock command to see the current date and time. Okay, as you can see, the current date and time is showing wrong, right? Because we have just started the router, so it shows the initial manufactured time, date and time. Now if you want to update it, then definitely we cannot update it into the first mode. So in that case, we have to switch ourselves to the second mode. So now I introduce the second mode by writing the enable command. Enable command is used to switch from the first mode to second mode, means the user execution mode to the privilege execution mode. So as I give enable command, as you can see, instead of greater than sign, now you are getting the hash sign. So now we entered into the second mode, and from here now we want to set the clock timing. I give clock set, and then let's say I do not know the parameter. So again I can use the help feature, which is question mark. It shows me the next parameter is HHMMSS. So let's say I give its timing like 10, 30, 55, and again I don't know the further parameter. So I give, let's say, the first one, which is its 10th of day of the month, and the current month, which is, let's say, it's January. And then again I do not know, so I click this question mark. It shows me that you can enter, you have to enter a year. So I enter a year, it is 10th January 2019, and then enter. So as you can see, now we can verify that whether we have set the clock timing or not. So again I write the command show clock, and as you can see, now the timing has been set. So what we have done, basically we have set the timing on the router through this command. Okay, now let's say we want to configure the host name. So to configure a host name, first we switch the mode from user execution mode to the privilege execution mode through the enable command. Then next we have to switch to one more mode, which is the global configuration mode. So to go into the global configuration mode, we have a command conft. The full form is configuration terminal. Okay, as you can see, now we are at the global configuration mode of a router. So here we can configure the host name. To configure the host name, we can give the command host name and any name that we want to display in place of a router. So let's say I write it's a router 01 floor 1, and when I click enter, then as you can see, now router 1 floor 1 has been displayed instead of router. So with this, using this, you can provide the router with a proper host name so that you can remember its location as well as its number.